Well, this was not the video that I was planning on making today, but I do think it's time that we address it. Should cruise lines finally do away with the pre-cruise testing? Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, the topic of today's video and even the style of today's video is really quite different from the videos that I usually make, but I did think it was really important right now to talk about something that is really timely and that really is affecting people who do book cruises. And of course, that is the issue of pre-cruise testing. Now, on my Facebook page, I asked the question, should cruise lines do away with pre-cruise testing? Yes, no, or just not yet? And overwhelmingly, being honest, this really did surprise me. Like about 75% of the people who responded said yes, and they really did have their reasons. Now, about 20% said no, and they had some reasons too. We'll go over them, and about 5% said just not yet. So in this video, I will share those results with you. I will share some of the points, and I will share as well what some people think are the solutions. Now, I really do want to hear from you and get your thoughts on this, but before I get started, well, there are two things. Firstly, I really do think that we all want the same things. We want safe, fun, and relaxing cruises. So I think everybody might just have a little bit of a different way that they think that might happen. And secondly, if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And of course, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. So firstly, let's talk about the facts about pre-cruise testing. So we do know recently we have heard from some cruise lines that are actually doing away with pre-cruise testing. However, they're doing away with pre-cruise testing only from certain ports, only basically for certain itineraries. So basically, they are taking away pre-cruise testing if your cruise is leaving from an embarkation port in a country that does not require pre-cruise testing. However, for the purposes of this video, the majority of cruises that are leaving from the United States, so really in essence, that's the majority of cruises, pre-cruise testing is still required. And testing right now, if you're leaving from the United States, so if you're going on a Caribbean cruise, an Alaska cruise, on a Canada, New England cruise, on a Hawaiian cruise, you do still need to test before your cruise. And on the most part, I believe it remains still 2 days before your cruise. Now, of course, as always, when it comes to testing, make sure that you do check with your cruise line for your specific cruise. Now, we know that most cruise lines are part of the CDC's voluntary program, and the CDC is recommending or requiring that people do test before getting onto a cruise ship. And in fairness, I do think that the cruise lines genuinely want people to not have COVID when they get on a cruise, for people to be safe on cruise ships. And I do think that that is what cruise passengers want as well. Now, when I looked through the comments, there were a lot of people who thought that testing should go away, and I'm going to give you some of the different reasons. So you let me know what you think, please, in the comments below. And the people who thought that testing should remain, some people actually had some solutions that they brought up that they thought would actually make people safer on cruises. Now, there were different reasons that people said they wanted to see pre-cruise testing going away. One of the biggest reasons, a lot of people said that in reality, as much as they wished the pre-cruise testing really helped and really was very effective, they said that they believed that because we're testing 1 or 2 days, or even sometimes a little bit more than 2 days before a cruise, it does leave time that people are going on flights, that people are going to public places, just doing all sorts of things where they potentially could be exposed to COVID after testing negative, and then they do get on the cruise ship and they do develop symptoms of COVID once they are on the cruise ship. And there were many instances of people saying that they were on a cruise and they actually themselves got off the cruise ship and were diagnosed with COVID, or they got COVID on a cruise, or they knew other people that got COVID on a cruise despite testing negative before the cruise. Now, other people pointed out that when you're on a cruise and you get off the cruise ship and you do excursions or you explore in the ports, that we're no longer in bubbles anymore, and that we could potentially be exposed to COVID in our cruise ports of call, at the different shops that we're at, and we could be bringing this back onto the cruise ship. So even the pre-cruise testing is just not a guarantee. Now, in practical terms, quite a few people brought up the fact that it now is getting harder to get pre-cruise testing, at least in-person pre-cruise testing, and certainly not at no cost, the way it was earlier on when cruising did restart. Now, of course, there is the virtual testing, and personally, I've used it 3 times. I do find that it is the best way to go with pre-cruise testing. However, some people pointed out, including travel agents, that this really is something difficult for some people that just aren't as comfortable with technology, including some people that are just a little bit older that are going on cruises. Now, something that I've been hearing for a while now is that pre-cruise testing just takes some of the excitement, some of the fun out of getting ready for a cruise, and it just builds up a lot of nervousness when you do know that you have to test, and if you do test positive, you're not going on that cruise. And something that I'm hearing about a little bit more is that for people who do want to visit a pre-cruise embarkation port, they want to fly out a couple of days before or even a day before, that at that point they are just nervous about if they are in a city, where should they test? Can they do a virtual test? By the way, I did a virtual test from New York, so that absolutely works. You can definitely do that, but I can see how that builds up a sense of nervousness, and you may not want to fly out to your embarkation port until you do test negative officially. Now, like I mentioned, I do think we all want the same thing. We want to be able to cruise safely, to not get sick on a cruise. So some people who did not want pre-cruise testing to end had some solutions to it. I don't know what you think of this, but some people said they thought that cruise lines should use PCR testing, or at least ask people to do PCR testing, because they felt that it was more effective. Let me know, please, if you'd like cruise lines to be stricter with the testing. And other people thought that cruise lines should be testing right at the embarkation port before people did get on the cruise. And I can understand that, because it probably is more of a snapshot in time. You probably have a better chance of catching people not having COVID before getting on a cruise. But I have to say, would the cruise line pick up the tab for this? I don't think that they really want to at this point. And are people, well, will that be an impediment to actually booking? Do people want a cruise and have to know that they get right to the cruise port, and that's when they find out if they are going to be able to embark or not? Just imagining, especially if you're cruising with a family, children, more than just yourself and another person, I don't know that people want to do that at this point in time. Now, I really did like reading through everybody's comments on my Facebook page, so I'd like to read through your comments, please, below this video. Let me know what you think. I don't claim to have all of the answers, and I don't claim to be right on this, but I will tell you what I think. Personally, I think it is now time for cruise lines, at least in countries where they are leaving from, so embarkation ports, and when they're visiting places that are not requiring testing. Personally, I think it is time to revisit this and look at removing testing, at least right now. I am hoping that most people continue to not be very sick with this virus. I still want people to be very safe. I don't want to see people get very sick. I want to see people be responsible, but I do want to see cruising get easier and fall more in line with the rest of travel and with life. So that's just my thoughts on it. I could be wrong on it. Let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't done so already. I would love to have you here within the Life Well Cruise community. Bye for now. Happy cruising.